So I do have a diligence checklist. I'm happy to kind of share it with you guys. But big things are tax structure is always like my number one, right? Especially if it's an S corp, you got to just make sure it's clean. Um, Employee misclass risk, talked about that. Any kind of outstanding litigation of the company, right? You got to obviously major risk. Uh, Employee I-9 verification. I've definitely dealt with a lot of companies recently where like not all employees, were eligible to legally work in the United States. Obviously, with the current administration, that's like a big risk,
Yeah.
especially in like home services where like you could lose your workforce in a day, right? And then
Yes.
like what do you do? So big risk there. And like I always even say this, like if you're in like California or Texas or even Florida, and the I-9s like look shaky, like I could look at an I-9 and be like, this looks shaky, but I'm not sure if this is real or not. There are like outside like immigration compliance folks that will do an I-9 audit, and that's something that at least immigration lawyers do, but like my law firm doesn't really do that.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll recommend like, hey, just spend a little extra money to get this audit done, just so you could be sure. Um, that's a big one. Another big one that's just very, very overlooked is just real estate, right? If there's two parts to that. One, the seller owns the real estate, fake out the terms on the front end because I've dealt with deals where like it got kicked down, the can got kicked down to closing, and then all of a sudden the seller is able to squeeze you in terms of the lease if they own it.
Yeah.
The flip side of that is if the seller doesn't own it and there's a landlord, sometimes the seller like doesn't, it waits too long to give you access, and the
Yeah.
landlord, I'm dealing with this on this trucking deal I'm doing now. The landlord absolutely squeezed us on the lease. And like we came to an agreement. It wasn't that egregious, but like it definitely held up the deal. And so like that type of stuff, it's just like it's very easily overlooked because you're like thinking about the M&A side of the deal. But
Yeah.
like you're gonna need one, the SBA is gonna require a 10-year term on the lease. So you're gonna need to renegotiate the lease regardless.
Yeah.
Like just don't get you have the least likelihood of getting squeezed if you're out in front of it as early as possible.